What's up? Welcome to another episode of Bitches Love Sports. I'm your host, Jazz Monet. And thank you again for showing up to a late night episode. Um, I'm really looking forward to going back to like regular daytime hours. But for now, here we are. Shout out to everybody who showed up. I'm still trying to figure out this setup. There's just weird shadows on my face and I don't know. Lighting, microphones, cameras, not exactly my expertise, but I'm trying to figure out how to make it work for y'all. All right. So, we're going to talk about Tyler Guyton tonight. As some of y'all know, one of the things that I really like to do on this show is to watch interviews and kind of break them down line for line. And usually those interviews are related to some sort of current event, some sort of important goings on with my favorite teams or with my favorite players. And I like to kind of dig into the meaning behind certain words, certain statements, and connect them to things that are going on. And hi, Harold. How are you doing? Eastside Harold and Kelvin in my chat are reminders that if you are watching on Twitter, please come over to YouTube because sometimes when the comments are left on Twitter, I don't actually see them. And I want to make sure that I can respond to everybody. So if you see this, make your way over to YouTube. If you're on my Twitter, then you should be able to go to my profile, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see where I posted the link to this live. So it should be simple enough to get to. Come over to YouTube, search for Bitches Love Sports Podcast, and join us here in the chat. Anyway, yeah, one of the things that I like to do is look at these interviews and kind of break them down line for line, based on how they connect to certain events that are going on. So that's kind of what we're going to do. But instead of looking at a particular headline or a particular event, we're just going to talk about the most recent round one draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Guyton. It's been interesting listening to the conversations about him, right? There are people who are really excited about his upside. And then there are people who, for whatever reason, don't seem to think that he's the best choice right now. Or I think one of the main things that I saw today was, for example, Baldy did a Baldy's breakdown of Tyler Guyton's film. And he was basically talking about, like a lot of people, Tyler Guyton's upside. And he was talking about some of the good things in the film, some of the things that, kind of like I pointed out yesterday, where we see him do some good things, but they're just not really consistent. And so Baldy was like really focusing in on those good things and the things about Guyton's movement and about the way that he approaches the game that we should all appreciate, right? And there were people just like arguing with him in the comments, basically suggesting that Tyler Guyton just is not that great. And that people don't have a reason to be excited about him and that he's going to be a bust, so on and so forth. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really understand the desire or the need for people to like really talk down on somebody like that. Like, I feel like we've seen so many examples of people coming into the league and just performing in ways that we don't expect, whether it's good or bad. That I just feel like, hey, this is a situation where we should definitely just wait and see. Now, based on what I've seen, I agree with Baldy. I agree with all the people who are saying that there's an upside with Guyton to be excited about. And like I said yesterday, it's not so much that there are things that he can't do or anything that we haven't seen him do. It's really more so of a consistency thing, you know, where it's like we've seen him do some great things with his hands, with his feet, with his body positioning, with the way that he controls other players and moves guys around. And then we've also seen examples of him not doing those things at all. So, one, I think it depends on what you choose to focus on. And two, I think, at least for me, my experience as a trainer and coach gave me a different perspective once I really started to watch his interviews and listen to how he talks about his own game. Not just what he enjoys about the game of football, but also some of the things that he said about what he feels like he needs to improve, what he feels like he's good at, the way that he's talked about his teammates and his role on his team when he was in college. So one thing that I've learned as a trainer and as a coach is that you can tell a lot about a person by how they describe their own strengths and weaknesses. You can tell a lot about a person by their demeanor, by their body language. And from looking at him, he seems like a very smart and aware young man who is coachable, not only because he's willing to take feedback, but because he seems to have the capacity to take that feedback and actually process it and do something with it. So that makes me excited because I'm looking at him like, yeah, there are things that he needs to get better at. Absolutely. But I feel like once he starts getting coached in the right way, once he starts getting the right cues, once he's in a setting where day in and day out, it's literally his job to get better and to learn certain things and to be more consistent about certain things, I don't think we have anything to worry about. I've heard some people say that we shouldn't be excited about Guyton until after his rookie year. I actually disagree. I think at some point during this season, we are going to see him step up in some really surprising ways. Now, some of y'all, I was watching Skywalker still this morning. Some of y'all, and not even just on Sky's show, on Botch's show too. Some of y'all are asking some wild questions like, do we think he can be a Hall of Famer? Oh my God. There is so much that has to happen for those questions and for those conversations to actually be relevant. So like in a fantasy world, do I think so? Yeah. But I'm not about to like make that a prediction. Like one day he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Now, if you ask him, and we'll get to that in a second, I think if you ask him, he'll say he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let me just make sure that I have all my files pulled up. I'm going to make sure that, yeah, just watch this for a second while I pull up a couple of things, and then we'll dive into these interviews. And also, oh, you're loud. Let me mute that. But also, stick around after we're done with the interviews. And once we're done, I'm actually going to talk about something else that's been a hot topic of discussion all day today that I felt the need to discuss and talk about. Harold says, I like the nighttime for the grown and sexy. I didn't intend to be this grown or sexy. I just be putting stuff on and then I get on camera and I see what it looks like. And sometimes it looks like this. It doesn't bother me. So hopefully it doesn't bother other people. And next time I go to put on this tank top, I know what it looks like right now. I've also gained a little bit of weight over the past few months in certain areas specifically. So my bad, y'all. All right. Thank you, Clement. I know I can always count on Clement to come in and say the right thing. All right. So it looks like everything's lined up. We are going to start. I know a lot of y'all are probably expecting me to start with like the interviews that Tyler Guyton did for the Cowboys, but we're actually going to rewind a little bit. Actually, there's one more thing I need to pull up. Thanks, y'all, for bearing with me. Just keep looking at this footage on loop. And if you want to go in the chat and talk about what you see in Tyler Guyton's movement, have at it. Okay, I think I've got everything I need now. So the first thing that we're going to look at, for those of you who aren't aware, we've talked a lot about Tyler Guyton coming from Oklahoma, but he actually spent most of his collegiate career at TCU, Texas Christian University. He was born in Manor, Texas, which a lot of people have been calling Austin his hometown. Manor is really close to Austin. Like, it's nothing for me to drive to Manor. So I don't get mad at people for saying that. I completely understand. Because, like, if you tell people Manor, Texas, a lot of people won't know where that is. But if you tell people Austin, at least people kind of have an idea geographically of the area that you're talking about. And then from there, it's like, okay, it's close enough. So we're actually going to go to an interview that was done right when he got to Oklahoma. And the reason why I'm doing this is because everything that I said a second ago about what I observe and notice about people whenever I'm training them or coaching them, and what I can tell about them from the things they say in the body language, one of the most important things that will tell you something about a person is the things that they repeat. If you talk to a person one time, you might be able to pick up a few things here and there. But once you hear a person say something over and over again, even if they've been coached on how to say it, the chances are that over the course of a year plus, if they're saying the same thing over and over again, they mean it on some level, or they probably learned to mean it. So that's why I'm rewinding a little bit. For those of you who are just not familiar with Tyler Guyton, not familiar with his character, not familiar with his game, we're going to rewind to early April of last year when it was shortly after he got to Oklahoma, or shortly after it was announced that he was going to Oklahoma, I should say.
How much different is this spring, maybe from when you first got here, given the role that you are expected to have in this offensive line?
It's challenging, but I'm ready for it. I've been waiting on this opportunity, and I think that it's beautiful that I get to really like enjoy myself while I'm playing now and have an actual role that holds value.
So there is some comfort in
A lot
having
of
that.
comfort. A lot of comfort. It gives me confidence.
Those starts you were able to make last year, when Wanye was out, how much did that help you to build up your game and that confidence and everything else that you needed?
I feel like it just gave me game experience. Playing on the game and playing in practice is way different. It's way faster, different looks. You don't know anybody's rush moves, and it just gave me game experience. Like knowing what to do when you don't know what to do, figuring something out. Yeah.
So let me tell you why I really like that answer. So first of all, one of the things I notice is the way that he speaks. He doesn't seem to question what he says. You don't hear a lot of pauses or ums and uhs, which tells me he's either thought about these things a lot and or he's good at thinking on his feet. Now, I really like what he said about getting the in-game reps because I feel like this is something that athletes know, but some of them don't know how to express it this way. And then there are a lot of fans who actually don't seem to realize this. But he talks about the fact that in-game reps and practice reps are very different. So he's really happy to get the in-game reps because it gives him better experience. It gives him something better to go on. And sometimes when people are talking about like playing time or the lack thereof, I think that's one thing about it that they don't realize. I mentioned this months and months ago, maybe years ago, when I was talking about CeeDee Lamb and him not actually. It was the beginning of this past season. I was talking about him not getting a lot of reps and how that could potentially impact his development as a wide receiver. That same concept applies to pretty much every position. So the fact that he realizes that lets me know that he's approaching practice with a different mindset, and he probably has an idea of what he needs to do during practices in order to improve, with the knowledge that it's not the same as a game. I also really like the fact that in the very beginning, he acknowledged that he was happy to have a certain role. He acknowledged that he was happy about consistency and that he was happy to actually have an assignment and a job to do. To me, that says that he takes his job seriously. He's not just I'm happy to be here guy. He's definitely happy to be there, but he also wants to have a purpose. And we're going to hear that echoed a little bit more throughout some more of his interviews. But let's keep going with this one.
You've been more vocal. Is that something that's natural for you?
Way more vocal with this new role I took on. Got to become a leader. Got to level up with everything that I do now.
Do you like that?
I love it. I love it. I'm embracing every part of it, the good and the bad, ugly and the pretty. It's a grind. It's a grind for sure.
What's the hardest part about it?
Hardest part about it? About what?
Just about that leadership role, and you said that you talked about the good and the bad there.
Just coming out and doing it every day, on your good days and your bad days. You can have some stuff going on outside of the football field, but you got to come in and be a leader every day, no matter what. Everybody is depending on you to give your energy. So.
What are some of the things you take with you moving forward that you might have learned from Wanye?
They definitely helped me with actual football technique. I got here, I wasn't the best technically, but they just gave me good leadership skills. They told me how to be the one, how to be the next one up, how to lead the youth and everything, man. They're my guys. I love y'all, bro. I love y'all. Yeah.
I might have asked you this in December.
So here he spent a few minutes talking about, or not a few minutes, it was a few seconds. But he's been a little while talking about becoming a leader in his team and what that felt like and what he appreciated about it. So I think what this tells us is that he's looking forward to being a leader. He didn't sound like he was bitter for having to wait for that particular position. And he actually sounded like he was excited about learning how to be a leader. But the fact that he embraces every part of being a leader, both the good and the bad, the pretty and the ugly, as he said, I think says that when he says he's ready to work, he doesn't just mean like, oh, I'm excited to get paid to be a football player and I'm excited to like go out here and hopefully win games and hurt people. He sounds like he's really excited about being ready to work and fitting in with this team, both on the field and off.
I think so.
When TCU goes to the national championship game, was that fun to watch? Was that difficult to watch? A little bittersweet?
I feel bittersweet about it, but I'm completely happy for my guys. I was there. I was front row. I flew out to Cali to watch it. I'm just so proud of them and everything that they've accomplished because even when I was there, they're still my brothers and we've been through a lot.
He's talking about TCU now.
Talked about the younger guys. What's been your impression of the newcomers here during the spring?
They came ready to work. Nobody's came with a mindset of quitting or being weak on the field. Even Caden Green is a freshman. He's having to take some difficult reps, and he's just embracing everything. Everybody's coming and playing at their role that they need to play.
He's not 100%, but how's that chemistry going with you and Walter Rouse?
I'm waiting for him to get back, but our chemistry is good. Like, he's still out there doing sets. I was just over there working with him. Like, he's a pro. You can tell he's a pro. He came. Look at him. Look. He's still working. Practice been over. Yeah. That's my guy, man.
So in that moment, I was really happy to see how proud he was of a teammate who was putting in extra work. It wasn't like a passive thing to him. It was something that he seemed to really respect about the particular player that they were talking about. And I think that says something about him because it's one thing to appreciate the work process when it means that you're getting better and you're excited about getting better and all the things that could bring into your life. But when you look at a teammate who's still working and you're literally just proud of them and you're happy to see them put in work, I think that says something about the type of culture that you want to be a part of and what type of culture that you're going to reinforce through your own words and actions. And quiet as it's kept, that means something. I'm saying this as someone who's played a team sport before, but when other people are proud of you for the work that you're putting in, like it means something. It's encouraging because sometimes it is hard to stay after practice. Sometimes it is hard to spend a little bit more time watching film or whatever it is that you need to do in order to improve your craft. So the fact that he's like literally looking over at this guy and smiling and saying in front of mics and cameras, like, look at him, like with a smile on my face, like, look at him, practice been over, and he's still out here working. To me, that says something about what he values in his teammates and what he's going to reinforce. I'm going to look at some of y'all's comments, and then the next interview comes up right after this. Clement says, Walter Rouse is a technician that is working on his craft from practice into a game, and he will be a star offensive lineman for Minnesota. Leave it to Clement to actually know the teammate that he's talking about. I think they said his name, but I just didn't catch it. So fun fact about these interviews, I pulled them together, but some of them I've maybe watched once. Some of them I actually haven't watched. So if we get to a part where I actually seem surprised with y'all, that's why. Clement also says, every play that you're a part of is a step to progressing to being the best version of yourself. That is facts. As it is on the football field, so it is in life. All right, let's keep going and look at some more things that he said while he was a Sooner. The next interview, assuming they stayed in order, should be from August when the season is about to start. And I feel like this is the most animated interview we see from Tyler Guyton.
What's the emotion like leading up to game week?
I'm excited, man. Like, I can't even put it into words how excited I am for this opportunity to go put a hurt on somebody with my brothers. I don't know, man. I'm really thankful for the opportunity. I'm finna go seize it.
Okay, so if you've been watching other Cowboys content creators, you've probably heard some people mention that this particular draft class seems to have a certain level of nastiness to them. They all are coming in was saying something about how they want to hurt people, how they want to be dangerous, how they want to play dirty, or not play dirty like in a bad way, but like how they want to have a certain nastiness to their game. And this is an example of Tyler Guyton saying that long before he became a Dallas Cowboy. And so I like it because he's excited here. In the last interview, we were seeing him a little bit more composed after practice. I believe this interview was also after practice, but it's when the season is getting ready to start. And he's really excited about getting the opportunity to go out and start this new season with the rest of his teammates.
How much different is this time for you this year than last year? I know you were preparing to start those first couple of games, but knowing that there's not somebody else coming on behind you, it's your spot. What's that like?
It's a whole new role. Like, it's a different type of mindset. It's going. My boy's right there hyping me up. Yes, sir. Different mindset, different role, man. It's not just like I'm filling in a spot this week. It's I'm a starter. This is my position, and this is my O-line, and I'm keepers of my brother, so I'm just ready to do my job.
How does that affect your preparation on a game week?
I feel like I just take it a lot more serious now. I know everything. I know the ins and outs. I know the personnel. I know what I need to do, what I don't need to do. Everything's changed.
What's the competition looking like in the room? I mean, Jeff said that there's been a lot of competition. This front five, I mean, what's that looking like, and how are you guys embracing that?
I don't really necessarily know whose position is what, but I know that all the guys in the room are prepared to step in if they need to, and everybody's sharpened up and ready to go.
I thought that was a really pro answer. So he was talking about how excited he is to go out with what he describes as his brothers, his teammates. And then a media member decides to ask this question that could be considered a little bit divisive. The media member says, hey, I heard there was actually some competition for who's going to be the front five. You know, I heard that y'all are competing. And he's like, hey, I don't know much about that. All I know is everybody is prepared. We're all ready. We've all been working and we're all ready. And that might seem like a small thing, but that's definitely one of those moments where some players will get tripped up and end up saying something like, not saying that this was the case for them, but they might say something like, yeah, there's competition, but we're figuring out how to handle it. I'm not worried about my spot and yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, that turns into a headline like player X says he's not worried about competition from his teammates, and it becomes controversial. I feel like he answered this question in a really good way to not only diffuse whatever divisiveness could come from a question like that, but also he acknowledges the hard work and the efforts of his teammates at the same time. So the tone that he was trying to set with calling these teammates his brothers and maintaining excitement about starting this season, he gets to maintain that because of how he answered the question. And as these interviews go on, I want y'all to really pay attention to how he answers a lot of these questions, not only what he's saying and how he takes something that maybe was intended one way and basically says like, no, this is how I'm going to answer this question, but also take a look at his body language.
What have you seen from him about the way that he's handled, everything that he's gone through over the last year and this team has gone through?
I feel like he handled everything a lot. Like, I know it was a lot for him being the quarterback, but I feel like he handled it well. Like, we're bouncing back this year. I feel it. I know it. He's taking a whole new type of look into everything. He's a different type of leader. I see it, man. I see the vision. I see the greatness coming. I feel it. I know it, man.
This is a guy who really loves bragging on his teammates.
What's the biggest difference you've seen?
Everybody or just him?
Just him.
His preparation, I feel like I feel like he knows everything now. We're changing looks, we're changing calls, everything is different. I have no doubt that he's going to do amazing, man. I can't wait to block for him.
You played a solid role last year. I think you made 5 starts. Mm-hmm. But it seems like they're looking at you to be maybe the leader of the offensive line and be a breakout player. Is that how you're approaching this season?
Somewhat, but not really. I feel like the O-line is a unit, and if the rest of us aren't doing good, then I'm not going to do good. Like, we have to play good together. If we're not together, nobody's good, It doesn't matter if I'm doing good, somebody else is doing bad, or if I'm doing bad, somebody else is doing good. It doesn't matter. We all have to play together. So I don't think it's an individual thing. I think it's a unit thing.
You guys,
So I'm gonna pause right there because his last two answers really, to me, exemplify how much he desires to look at the offense as a unit. He talks about how, he can't wait to block, and it's one thing to say, like, I'm excited to go out there and hurt people, like you said at the beginning of this particular interview. But when you say, like, yeah, I can't wait to go out and block for him, you're acknowledging that you play a different role than someone else, and maybe a role that some people don't consider as important, but you appreciate your role and you take it seriously. Also, with yet another attempt to kind of, it almost feels like the media with their questions in this interview, they're trying to establish a hierarchy with people on the offensive line. And so they asked him how he felt about being a leader. And instead of talking about being a leader, he's just like, hey, I look at the O-line as a unit. And if we're not doing good, I'm not doing good. And with answers like that, I can see why people want to look at him as a leader, because that's almost a textbook perfect answer. Because once again, if you answer that a certain way, and it could be in a harmless way, right? He could have been like, yeah, I do see my role as a leader taking shape, and I do take it seriously, blah, blah, blah. But instead, he's like, I'm not going to come to the media and make it sound like I'm better than anybody or in charge of anybody. I'm going to focus on us as a unit because that's what's important. And at the end of the day, if we're not all doing well as a unit, it really doesn't matter how well I'm doing or what I'm doing or if I'm a leader or not. I think just from watching these first two interviews, I feel like Tyler Guyton is going to be one of those guys who we love watching his media availability. I know I will.
had some injuries, and then you had some infections at the bowl game. Some guys didn't play. Sort of a makeshift offensive line that came out and moved the ball great, ran the ball great. Is that an indicator that this can be a really good run blocking team?
I think it could. I think it really could. And I feel like last year that happened because guys were prepared in the two deep and everybody was ready for their opportunity. So I feel like we're going to have a really good year with everything, pass, run, everything.
How's that chemistry with Walter?
It's amazing. He's a pro, and just the way he goes about everything, he's a pro. He knows everything. Like there isn't something that Walter doesn't know, and he can help me with certain things that I can help him with, and vice versa. So it's just good to have another veteran guy here to help me out and for me to help out too.
You know, it's a spot or anything in particular that he's helped you out with so far this season?
Changing up my pass set a little bit. Like I feel like I was a little bit of one-dimensional pass setter, but I feel like I have a little bit of variety now, especially with my hands too. I feel like I've changed it up a little bit, and I got that from him, from his game experience at Stanford.
So this is something that you're going to see a lot with Tyler Guyton interviews. When he's asked about his game, he's always very specific. And I like that because that tells me where his head is at when it comes to evaluating his own strengths and weaknesses. He was asked what he learned from Walter Rouse. I got it right that time, Clement. And no, I did not know you were an Oklahoma fan. But he's asked about what he learned from him. And he wasn't like, oh, he's taught me so much about being a better tackle or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, my pass setting, my hands. Like, he's always very specific when it comes to what he needs to work on or what he feels like he's doing well at. And I really appreciate that, because if he can explain it to us, if he can explain it to the media, then that means he can easily go into a practice or go to a trainer or go to a coach and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I want to work on, so on and so forth. And that might sound like a small thing, but as a trainer who's worked with people and I say, hey, what are your goals? And they don't know. Or I say, okay, you say you want to be better at your position. What do you need to do in order to be better at your position? What do you need to do in order to improve at this sport? And they can't tell me. Trust me when I say being able to express it in these specific terms means a hell of a lot.
What have you learned about this offensive line, heading into this season?
I learned that we're hungry. I learned that we had a bad year last year and we're ready to flip the script. Even Coach B's fired up about everything. Like, I feel special about this line.
How different has he been throughout this preseason camp than what you've experienced before?
I feel like he turned it up a notch. Like he's holding us to a higher standard because he wants better for us. So everything's amped up. The yelling, the making sure everything is 100% correct, like footwork, angles, everything is amped up to a different level now because it's a different standard. But I like it though. I like it though. It's making me get better every day, even though I feel like I'm a decent player. I feel like I'm forced to get better every day because he's making me. That's what I like about it. I love that.
You guys want to win, obviously, but for the offensive line, what's kind of some of your goals, some of the checklists that walk out of Saturday to say that was a success? What are you guys going to do?
0 sacks, 7 yards per carry.
So this is another example of him being really specific, right? So first, shout out to him for not feeling a way about what it sounds like are more intense practices or a more intense style of coaching. He actually seemed to appreciate that he was being called to a higher standard. So shout out to him. Then he's asked about, what would make for a good performance or a perfect performance for him. And it wasn't a generic answer. And he did not hesitate. Said 0 sacks, 7 yards per carry. And one, I appreciate that because I'm like, if you're carrying that same standard to the Cowboys, much appreciated. And all these fans who are complaining about not being satisfied with the running back room or with the run game or at least what they think the run game is going to look like in 2024, they will all definitely appreciate that 7 yards per carry as well. But once again, the fact that he was able to state it so specifically and not like with zero hesitation, it lets you know what's on his mind on a consistent basis.
Straight up. Dominating people all day.
Is that an every game goal?
I feel like,
or do you set different goals week by week?
I feel like that should be an every game goal, but I feel like it can also get better every single week as we play different opponents.
7 yards a carry, pretty high standard.
We had it good last year. I'll take it up a notch.
I love it. They said 7 yards per carry is a pretty high standard, and he did not waver. He wasn't like, oh, well, maybe 5. It was like, hey, we got to take it up a notch. I love it. Not only is he certain about what he's saying, but he does not back down when people question him. Let me read some comments before we go to the next one. Leon Beard says, let me tell you, this young brother is a giant baby man. That sounds like an insult. Did you mean it that way? He knows his S&Ws, knows where he needs to improve at and where he's a dog at. Let's go. Judging from the rest of your statement, I'm assuming you meant that as a compliment, but giant baby man doesn't come off immediately as a compliment. I will say, just like I've clearly never met him in person, but just from what I've seen of him so far, I like him a lot. I like his interviews a lot. I like what we've seen of his character. And keep in mind, that last clip was from August. This one that we're about to watch is from October. We haven't even gotten into anything recent yet. So I think in addition to everything that we're seeing about his work ethic and about his standards and about the way that he's so specific about what he wants to bring to his game, what you're also going to notice as we keep going is consistency, that he doesn't change from setting to setting, from media group to media group. He is who he is. He has a goal to be one of the best offensive tackles in the league, and that remains consistent. I appreciate that tremendously.
What was it like playing next to Caleb Shaker there those last few drives against Texas? How did he play?
I feel like he played amazing. It's different, and I feel like it's a really big role to step out there when he did and play like he did, and I just appreciate him for doing the job.
What stands out to you about his game, the way that he's handled things stepping into the season?
Coming from Miami, I feel like things were a lot different there, and I think he's taken a different approach since he's got here, and being a professional about it, watching a lot of film, knowing everything. He's also a big dude and plays really physical, so I like doing that stuff.
Tyler, what impressed you about what Caden was able to do on short notice coming into the game against Texas?
Just being a young guy and how big of a game that is, and stepping in and feeling your opportunity, I feel like that's big for him, especially as a young dude. That's pretty hard to do, so kudos to him.
What's your thoughts on UCF's defense at this point?
I feel like they're a really good defense. Like, even though they're 0-3, we're not taking them for granted. We're not overlooking them. We still have to win every single game to do what we want to do.
Now I'm going to pause right here because as a journalist, And I've had to interview players in person before. And so I know what it's like to interview a player who just can't answer questions well and then have to like chop up their responses into something that actually makes sense for viewers who will be watching it. What I appreciate here is they've asked him about teammates, they've asked him about opponents, they've asked him about 4 or 5 different questions at this point, and he did not hesitate. He does not have to stop and think about it. They are just rapid fire, and he's like, what are you gonna ask me? I got an answer for you. And I don't know if he's practiced this. I don't know where he got it from, but I absolutely love it.
Well, I feel like they're a pretty good defense.
How do you feel like you guys have protected Dylan thus far this season? I feel like
Eastside Herald. I'm gonna respect your right to have an opinion about Tyler Guyton, but I'm gonna ask you one thing. You're gonna have to give me some evidence. You cannot be in the chat talking shit about a player that I clearly like. I was trying to think of another word besides shit. Sorry, y'all. You be saying you're not a Cowboys fan. You be saying you're a Texans fan. If there are no Texans content creators, why don't you become one? You up late? You could be doing a live just like I am. Do you have nothing better to do than to rain on our parade? We're trying to have a good time listening to this man's interviews right now. So, yeah, next negative comment you make about Tyler Guyton, you're going to have to provide some proof, some evidence, something specific. Don't just be on here talking about, yeah, he's media trained. Don't mean he's on an all-pro on the field. It also doesn't mean he's not. I would say that there's more evidence that he's going to be than that he's not going to be. So that's why I stand on it right now. So let's keep going.
been a step up from last season?
I feel like it's definitely been a step up from last season. I mean, once again, we could always do better. There's always, pass pro reps you want to get back and things like that. But in general, I feel like we've done a great job of it, and we're going to continue to do the same thing.
Seeing him perform the way he has, as an offensive lineman, I know you're facing away from him. You don't get to see him actually unload those throws, spot him up the way he does, but his overall performance thus far this season, what can you say about the way he's not only playing on an individual level, but leading the offense?
I think he's a Heisman candidate. I feel like he's playing up to it, and I feel like people are overlooking him. Dylan's done a lot of great things this season. And playing with him is amazing. I love when I'm pass blocking somebody and I just see a 40-yard bomb go down the field and get caught. It's an amazing feeling. I love playing for Dylan.
What do you say about what Walter's meant to this team, this offensive line this season?
Just coming in and being a vet and a leader, that's something you need as an O-line, is guys with experience. And he's also a really smart guy, so just bringing a leadership to the O-line is big for us, having such a young group.
You guys have been pretty efficient on offense, but where do you think you guys still have room for improvement?
I feel like we have room to improve in everything. I feel like we haven't hit our ceiling. And honestly, I feel like we haven't played our best 4 quarters of football yet. I feel like there's a lot more to come, and we're going to get there.
Coach Venables kind of said the same thing last night. You guys haven't strung together your 4 best quarters of football yet. When that day comes, when you guys do play your 4 best quarters of football, what do you think that looks like?
Everybody making plays, everybody doing their job to the best of their ability, no mistakes, everybody catching every pass, making every block, just doing everything perfect.
So let me tell you what I like about this answer. Once again, it was probably 5 or 6 more questions thrown at him where he didn't need to stop in between questions. You didn't hear a lot of pauses. He had something to say for every single one. But he talked about the fact that the O-line that he's on at this particular time, once again, this is October 2023, how they hadn't strung together their best 4 quarters of football yet. And one of the media members is like, okay, well, when you finally do that, what's that going to look like? And once again, he has an answer prepared that not only applies to him, not only applies to his O-line, but he actually referenced other parts of the offense. And that's something that you start to hear more and more as we go through these interviews as well, that he's referring to, kind of like in the last video where he was 0 sacks, 7 yards per carry. He could have definitely stopped at 0 sacks, right? He could have just been hey, sacks are my responsibility, or preventing them is my responsibility. But you start to hear how he refers to how many yards per carry or what he liked to see in the passing game, to where he sees not just his own stats, but he recognizes his connection to the stats of the entire offense, and it actually means something to him. And when you're an O lineman and you recognize your responsibility to the offense as a whole, I think that carries over into how you approach the game, because you're going to take every snap that much more seriously if you know, hey, whatever happens in terms of running, in terms of passing, in terms of making sure my quarterback doesn't get sacked, I play a role in making sure everything goes smoothly. So I think that's important.
I feel like one day we're gonna do that, and y'all are gonna see what I'm talking about.
How close do you feel like you guys are to doing that?
I feel like we're getting there for sure. We're on the more positive side of things. There's a lot we can fix every single game and every play. There's always something that could be better. So that's just the approach we got.
Thanks, man. Have a great day, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, I think the next one is going to be an interview that was conducted at the Combine.
We're here with Tyler Guyton. First question, Tyler.
Okay, so this is a short interview that Tyler Guyton did with Scooter Magruder, which, if you are familiar with Scooter Magruder, he's not really considered a serious journalist. He makes a lot of funny social media content, but he got to talk to Tyler Guyton for a little bit at the Combine, so here's this interview.
What are the vibes like? How are you feeling? What's going on?
I'm excited. I feel like this process is extremely fun, and it's a jam come chance.
We've been asking all the O-linemen, what is the go-to pregame snack? What are you eating? Let the people know, Tyler. Stop playing.
I might go with some chips, probably some hot fries.
Okay. What are we listening to?
I've been into a lot of Detroit music, so
okay.
These, Babyface Ray, and Lucky.
Okay. Let us know who in the NFL right now resembles your play style. Let us get an NFL comp.
Oklahoma right tackle Lane Johnson. Go ahead.
You got the OU connection, basically. NCAA college football is coming out. What should have been your ranking in that game?
I feel like I should be at least a 91.
Minimum. Okay.
That's not crazy.
That's not crazy.
That's not crazy.
Same question, but Madden. Knowing how they do rookies.
If I can't get a 75, I'm not doing it right.
Who is the GOAT? The best to ever do it at your position?
Right tackle or left?
Right tackle. Let's go right.
Lane Johnson.
And now let's go left. Who's left?
Trent Williams.
Last question. I need you to look.
So real quick, I just want to point out he was asked who he compares himself to, and he said Lane Johnson. And then he was asked who's the GOAT, and he said Lane Johnson. He's definitely got high standards and aspirations for himself.
Right here into this camera, as if every coach, every GM, every owner were listening. Why should they draft Tyler Guyton?
I'm the best tackle in the draft.
It's that simple. One sentence. Tyler, I appreciate your time, brethren. And you're kind of tall. I'm not going to.
I love it, because I'm going to put it this way. Whether you think he's the best or not, a person thinking that they're the best at something, or at minimum thinking that they bring something to what they do that nobody else can bring to it, that definitely impacts how they approach their development, how they approach their practices, how they approach the game. It means something. So, I mean, you can argue all day about whether or not you think he should be compared to Lane Johnson, whether you think he's the best tackle in the draft. It really doesn't matter. What's important is that he views himself that way. And what that means is whenever he falls short of that standard, he is going to do something to get back to that standard. Because here's something else that I've learned about training people. When it comes to habits, when it comes to performance, people won't change until they hit their rock bottom. What that means is that people might say they want something, and maybe they're practicing, training, performing in a way that doesn't allow them to attain that thing. A lot of times people will settle for not getting the thing that they want. What really determines how hard a person will work and the determination that they put into their practicing and their efforts and their training is what their rock bottom is. What is their lowest standard? Now, a lot of times the thing that they say they want lets you know something about their lowest standard, but it's not until they get below the rock bottom that they actually start to change their habits. So when I see a person who says, like, I think I'm the best, I'm going to compare myself to who I think is the best, I expect to have these ratings, I expect to have these scores, I expect, the run game to get 7 yards per carry behind me. And you might think that's a lot. I don't care. That says so much to me about how they're going to practice and prepare and train for what they're going to do. Clement says, I love the confidence of Tyler Guyton that he should be the best, and that is ultimate test. 100%. Eastside Herald, you probably hate Scooter Magruder because he's a Cowboys fan, and that's fine. I should probably really stop responding to Eastside Herald, y'all, because, like, what y'all might not realize is that he just, like, he likes when I talk to him. So it's kind of like a kid when they start, like, acting up, and sometimes it's just for attention. It's kind of like that. Like, so even if he has to say something crazy in the comments for me to, like, address him directly, he just, like, wants to hear me, like, say his name and shit. It's fine. Let's keep going.
That's crazy. That's wild.
To a different local store, Manor grad Tyler Guyton invited.
Okay, so this was a news story from a local news station where they were talking about Tyler Guyton and the fact that he, at the time, it was like he might be a first-round draft pick.
Invited us to a pre-draft party this afternoon, and I like the kind of party he threw. Food, games, and even a DJ. He's got it all figured out. Tyler, who played O-line in Oklahoma, is projected to go in the first round this evening. Today, I asked when he realized that he wasn't just good, but he was potentially first-round talent good.
I think in high school when I was getting sacks and playing the D-line, I just knew I was an athlete and I was big and could move and bend, and it was apparently a rare thing that some guys don't have, and also my mindset and my mentality. I like to hurt people. That's just what I do. I'm a football player, so when I figured out that I had that in me, I kind of knew that I had a chance to make it to this level.
Yeah, he's a guy who you want on your team. Listen up, Dallas fans. Tyler says the 4 teams that have talked to him the most are the Dolphins, Saints, Packers, and the Cowboys.
I'm good.
So before we get into the secret audio from his call whenever he learned that he was being drafted to the Cowboys, I really like that interview because even though in his other interviews, like he's given us longer answers, in that moment when he was asked, what he felt like set him apart, what he felt like was a sign that he could be a first-round draft pick, he's like, hey, I'm athletic and I like to hurt people. So when it comes to his own improvements and his own approach to the game, he can get really specific. But when it comes down to, like, okay, generally speaking, what makes you good at this? He's like, I'm athletic and I like to hurt people. He knows his strengths. He understands what his mindset is. And I love it so much. So let's listen to the secret audio that the Cowboys released from when he got that draft call from Jerry Jones.
Good with Flornay? I'm good. You good with that, Will?
Hell yeah,
Mike?
Ryan Flornay, yep. Let's do it.
Oh, wait. Dang it, I downloaded the wrong one. I knew at one point something was going to come up. Hold on. I looked at his earlier. I'm going to go back to it. Talk amongst yourselves. It's like, as soon as he said Fortnite, I'm like, Fortnite, what? But this, friends, is why any content creator who has like a producer or a content curator should definitely appreciate that person, because when you're doing things on your own and you're in a rush because you're like, okay, I just got home from work, I need to pull this stuff together. You kind of get to a point where it's like everything can be rolling pretty well, and then a mistake happens. But no big deal. Hopefully my internet will cooperate with us and not cause too much trouble as I try to pull this up online for you. Sometimes there's a lag with the online videos, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, here we go. Roy, thank you for the encouraging take your time.
Call it in and call the law. Let's do it.
Hello? Tyler.
Yo. Will McClay with the Cowboys. I got somebody who wants to talk to you. Oh my God.
Hey, Tyler.
Yo, what's up?
Tyler, this is Jerry Jones.
Nice to meet you, Jerry. What's up?
Hey, man. Listen, I just wanted to be maybe the first to tell you you are no longer a Sooner. You're a Dallas Cowboy.
Oh my God. Thank you, Coach. Oh my God.
Well, we sure are proud, and my coach is sitting right here. Our coach is sitting right here, but we're glad to have you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, Tom, here you go.
Hey, Tyler, Mike McCarthy. Hey, congratulations, man. Thank you so much, Coach. Hey, where are you right now? You home? You home with the? In Austin, Texas. Oh, you're back in Austin. Well, I know you and your dad are fired up. You just bring that big smile and that personality here, man. All right. Oh my God, let's go. Tyler. Yo. Mike Solari. Hey, congratulations, man. Excited to work with you. I'm going to call you a little bit later, and it's a little bit more quieter. But again, congratulations. Yes, sir. What's up? You have a great celebration. All right. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
So I like the fact that you can hear the excitement as soon as he hears Will McClay's voice. You also hear it as the phone is being passed. You hear the family start to celebrate in the background. So you kind of know, okay, he's giving them the news. And then I like the fact that Mike McCarthy said, hey, bring that big smile and personality here. To me, that showed that the Cowboys were acknowledging not only his size, not only his athleticism, but even, when they decided to draft him, they were taking into consideration his personality and what he brings to the team in that aspect. So that being said, let me add this other video back and see if we can skip to the right part. All right, so this was a local news spot that was done, and it also covered him getting the draft call. But in this news spot, you actually get to see the family's reaction.
Jerry Jones and the Cowboys did a little wheeling and dealing last night in round 1 of the NFL draft.
Let's get over to Bill Jones. He is joining us live now from the Star in Frisco, where he caught up with the Cowboys' first-round pick. What's he saying, Bill?
Well, in fact, he just had his press conference. In fact, members of Tyler Guyton's family and some of his friends are behind us by the Lombardi trophies here in the atrium area as the press conference just wrapped up. The Cowboys' first-round pick Tyler Guyton out of Manor, Texas, near the Austin area, arrived here at the Star around 11 o'clock this morning. They spent the day here. They were back home in Manor when Tyler got the call from Jerry Jones that he's a Cowboy last night. A dream come true for the whole Guyton family, as the 6'8", 322-pound former Oklahoma Sooner tries to fill 8-time Pro Bowler Tyron Smith's massive shoes at left tackle. And the phone rings a little after 10 o'clock, and on the other line is a guy by the name of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I heard my phone ring. I felt it vibrate. I looked at it, and the top of it just said the Star, and I knew who it was. And I answered the phone, and Jerry got on and said, hey, I want to be the first to tell you you're not a Sooner no more. And I was like, whoa.
We witnessed greatness.
We're going to Dallas.
I love the fact that the whole family is so excited. And not just like clapping, they are elated.
It was like a moment. It felt like a video game. Hearing his voice in real life on my phone was completely special.
Yeah. What kind of emotion comes over you at that point? I mean, you're sitting there, you're with family and friends, and you get that call, and your childhood dream is realized in that moment.
Definitely shocked and surprised, but it was a sense of relief, and because this is all we've ever wanted our whole entire life, is to be Cowboys, and it finally came true.
His whole entire life.
Tyler Guyton, what a dream come true for him and the entire family. A life-changing moment, and now he's got those big shoes to fill at left tackle for the Cowboys. Of course, Tyron Smith, a fixture there for over a decade now. We'll have much more coming up next hour and preview what the Cowboys might do on day 2 of the draft. Keep in mind tonight they've got 3 picks, 1 in the second round and 2 in the third round. Back to you in the studio.
We'll definitely be watching. Ken and I were just talking about how exciting it is to see their reaction, because like you said, they don't look it, but they're kids, and this is a big night for them. So, Bill, we appreciate it.
Right now, let's welcome.
All right, before we get into his draft show interview, just a few comments from you guys. Clement said, thank God he has Zach Martin and Tyler Smith as mentors on the offensive line to teach him the tools and techniques needed to go up against DTs and DEs in the league. Agreed. And that's another thing that's come up a lot, when it comes to some of the things that are less positive about his film that people have talked about. A few people have mentioned that, like, hey, when Tyler Smith first got to the team, he also had a little bit of trouble with his feet, a little bit of trouble with his hands, but he was able to learn from literally some of the best, and he improved at a tremendous pace. And so far, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't happen with Tyler Guyton. As a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, they're not exactly the same, but in a lot of ways, listening to Tyler Guyton speak for the first time reminds me a lot of the first few times I started hearing Tyler Smith speak and just realizing, like, okay, this is not your typical athlete. Like, he's definitely got a lot going on between his ears. He's got a high level of awareness. He definitely understands his own strengths and weaknesses. He can communicate them well. He's not afraid to communicate them well. Like, and now that I think about it, I feel like that says a lot about how the two of them are going to communicate with each other. I feel like we are going to see some great things from Tyler Guyton. I know there are some people who are either pessimistic or maybe they're hedging their bets for whatever reason, like afraid to get too excited. But I'm expecting a very similar trajectory to Tyler Smith. May not be quite the same since Tyron Smith is gone. And I'm sure he brought a lot to the table in terms of mentorship and the things that he taught the rest of the O-line. But I'm still expecting a lot from this guy. Now let's get into this draft show interview and hear some of the things he said there.
Welcome in the newest Dallas Cowboy, the 29th overall pick, Tyler Guyton, now former Oklahoma Sooner. Tyler, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys, man. How you feeling after getting that call from Jerry?
I'm ecstatic, bro. I couldn't be more happy. This is my hometown team. This is the best team for me my whole entire life. I couldn't have wrote it any better way, man.
Well, how much interaction did you have there with the Cowboys? Did you have a feeling maybe you would end up playing with the star on your helmet?
I was dreaming about it, man. I saw it, and it kind of was happening, and I was meeting with them at the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and I didn't go on a 30 visit because they already knew me. I was talking to the O-line coach a bunch at my pro day. I kind of had a feeling that I might go to Dallas. I just didn't know who would take me before, but I'm so glad it was Dallas, bro.
Man, we're excited to have you, of course.
Now, this is significant because there was an interview that came out that he did at the Senior Bowl where I think it was a Philadelphia-based podcast or content creators, and they were talking to him about his connection with Lane Johnson. And after that interview came out, there were some people who were like, oh, he wants to go to Philly, he wants to be with Lane Johnson, and so on and so forth. So for him to actually say and reiterate so many times, I've been a Cowboys fan since I was a kid, this is all we wanted, this is something I've been dreaming about, I feel like that's really significant because not only are we seeing his level of focus and dedication to his position, but now we're seeing how much focus and dedication he'll probably bring specifically to this team.
Cowboys have a great history of taking first-round linemen. We're hoping you fall right in line with that. For Cowboy fans that maybe aren't familiar with your game, how would you describe what they're getting with Tyler Guyton now?
You're getting a player that really loves football and loves to compete and loves the Dallas Cowboys, and I'll do anything for this star on my helmet now. I can't even put into words how appreciative I am of the Dallas Cowboys.
Not being able to put something into words says a lot for him.
Drafting me and the fans welcoming me with open arms. I'm going to do everything in my power to make this team better.
Tyler, walk me through the scene at your home there in Austin. Were y'all kind of sitting on pins and needles, hoping it would be Dallas? And then whenever you got the call, what was that moment like?
Man, we were sitting on pins and needles for sure. Dallas was the dream. But we didn't know who else was going to pick. But we were ecstatic when we heard that phone call. It was like a dream come true.
Yeah, what's the story with your dad? Everybody was talking about your dad. Your dad a huge Cowboys fan too? What was the story?
My dad is a diehard Cowboys fan. He made me a Cowboys fan as soon as I was born.
As soon as he was born.
Man, that is awesome. Tyler,
we're so excited.
Man, we really, really are excited to have you here as a Dallas Cowboy. What do you think the first order of business will be for you once you get here when you talk to Coach Mike Solari?
Getting down to the playbook, man. I want to get down and dirty. I want to put some work in. This is what it's for. You know, getting drafted is amazing, but it's time to get to it.
Well, welcome to the team, man. We are really, really excited to have you, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you very, very soon, man. Congratulations. What a special night.
Thank you so much.
There he goes. Tyler Guyton, your first-round offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Gosh, he was fired up. He was super
ecstatic, as a matter of fact.
As he should be.
You are. We're just getting...
Okay, so now we're going to get into... This is going to be the longest interview out of all the ones that we listened to, because this is the interview, or the press conference, I should say, that he did after he was drafted. But what I like about this one is that the angle allows us to actually see some of his mannerisms. And I'm going to point some stuff out to y'all, but I also want y'all to just kind of take a look at his body language and observe some of the things that happen, especially while other people are talking.
Shake his hand and congratulate him for the very first time here just a few minutes ago, and we're all on deck to get to do that. And this is, without exaggeration, a potential life-changing moment for your family and you too, and it's what you make of it. These people in here will test you. Not really. They're pretty good folks. So this is your meeting, and this is your day. And what I would hope is they can come out of here better acquainted with you and get an idea of how you got here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But
so to some people, it might seem like a small thing that he said, yes, sir, thank you. But to me, that was significant just because, you know, Jerry Jones in his own way is introducing him to the media. He's like, this is your press conference, and I want the media to get better acquainted with you. And he not only says, yes, sir, but he also says, thank you, which could be thank you for the introduction. Thank you for holding this press conference so that I can meet members of the media. But it would have been very easy in that moment, honestly, to not acknowledge any sort of gratitude at all. So once again, a small thing, but to me, it says something about what kind of person Tyler Guyton is.
Would you ask a question?
Yeah, Tyler, David Moore, Dallas Morning News. You talked last night a little bit about just your excitement being here, but now that you've been here and seen the facility and just the idea you get to pair with another young lineman right next to you as you start this, can you just talk about all of that and pairing with him and just your overall first impression?
First, I want to shout him out. Tyler Smith is a ferocious monster at the offensive line position. I can't wait to get next to him and show what I can do and complement his game with mine. And also being here is life-changing. It's a dream come true, honestly. I wanted to put the star on my helmet since I was playing football. It was always a lifelong dream for me, and now it's finally here. I can't even put it into words how excited I am for it.
Clarence Hill, for Star Telegram. I got a couple of questions. Just talk about the...
So this is a point at which I noticed he keeps adjusting the hat. The hat is too small. Dallas Cowboys, please get this man a bigger hat. But yeah, between his sheer size and his locks, the hat is too small, and I think he can feel it kind of like trying to shift off of his head. But he doesn't take it off. He doesn't take it off. He just keeps like adjusting it and keeps trying to push it down. And I don't know if they told him he had to wear the hat, but I kind of love the fact that he's like, I'm not taking this hat off. I will keep squishing it down on my hair. I don't care. This hat is not coming off.
Day, how surreal the day was, the private jet ride and going to see your jersey. Maybe just talk about it.
Man, first of all, you're a baller. He sent the private jet and got me this morning. I've never been
Okay, sending a private jet to Austin really is a baller move, because I definitely know some people who might have sent like a driver, because it is like, I think from the Star, it's like 4 hours max. You know, there are definitely some people who would have sent a driver, but he sent a whole private jet to Austin. That 100% a baller move. Good job, Jerry Jones.
On a private jet before, so that was definitely the experience. It was extremely nice. I'd love to do it again. Also, seeing my jersey made, I had to put it on, and I'm not going to take it off. And neither is my family. So, I mean, that should tell you all you need to know. We're gonna wear this until we can't anymore. We're Cowboys for life.
And secondly, just talk about your background. You say you.
Cannon says no, 2.5 hours. I think it's like 2.5 hours ish to like certain parts, but I'm talking specifically about the Star in Frisco, which I've made that drive enough times to know it takes a lot longer to get to the Star than it does to get to the stadium. And also, there's also the fact that I live in South Austin, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it definitely is. When I leave from North Austin going to Dallas or Frisco, as opposed to South Austin, it definitely takes like 45 minutes to an hour off my drive.
You love the Cowboys, but you were a basketball player growing up, and just talk about when did you start playing football?
I've been playing football my whole life. I played football from Pee Wee all the way up to high school. I played running back, quarterback, defensive tackle. I played a little bit of tight end. I got to high school. I thought I was a basketball player. Honestly, I did. And I went out for tryouts my freshman year in basketball, tried to dunk on somebody and tore my knee up and had to sit down for a year. And, you know, being that young and dealing with injuries and trials and tribulations is tough sometimes. But coming back from that, it was definitely a process. I had to sit it out for a little bit. But once I transferred my senior year to play basketball somewhere else, I was getting recruited by the football coaches. They were telling me I needed to come play, and I just went and tried it.
So 1 year of football in high school?
Yes, sir.
So that one says a lot about how coachable he is, that he was like willing to switch sports at the advice of several coaches. I hate the fact that, you know, he ended up hurting his knee. I don't want to wish injury on anybody. And I haven't seen him play basketball, but somehow I feel like the whole move from basketball to football ended up being a blessing in disguise. And I don't know what this man looked like in high school. I guess because of his height, like, people looked at him and saw basketball, but like, goodness, like, I definitely, whatever school he went to, I do not blame the football coaches one bit for doing everything that they had to do to get him on the football field. So bravo to them.
Todd Archer with ESPN. You talked to us last night about Tyron Smith and watching him. What was it about his game that you liked so much about him and wanted to watch him so much?
His technique is so refined, and he's one of the best to ever do it for a reason. His hand placement, his head placement, his nastiness, and his finishing in the run game is second to none.
So once again, we're hearing Tyler Guyton get really specific when it comes to evaluation of, in this case, it's somebody else. He was asked about Tyler Smith here, and it wasn't like, oh, he's one of the best. I like watching him. He got really specific about, you know, his hand placement, his finishing in the run game. And I love the fact that he's already looking at his future teammates that way.
John.
John Machota of The Athletic. What kind of basketball player were you? And is there what can you tell from maybe your basketball game that translated over to football?
I definitely say my feet translated over. I think I have some quick feet, and I'm light on my toes, and I feel like playing defense in the paint definitely helped me with that. But comparison-wise, I think I play more like a LeBron. I got a little bit of basketball skill, if I'm being honest.
Maybe we'll see him in the Celeb All-Star game next week.
Same with basketball then.
Saad used to be athletic. Tyler, you walked into the locker room and saw where your locker is placed. Just, you know, how much does that mean to you to be next to Zach and Terrence and Tyler and just in that area? And what was that like for you to walk into that?
I mean, I'm going to be able to pick the brand of some guys that I grew up watching play football, you know, at the highest level and for my favorite team. So I already texted Zach Martin. We've already chopped it up for a second. I can't wait to sit next to him and just talk to him about life and anything I need to ask about the NFL. I feel like he's going to give me a good answer, and that's all I could ask for in a teammate in the locker room.
I really kind of like the fact that he mentioned asking about life. I know it's kind of a given that, like, you know, going from being a college athlete to a professional football athlete is a lifestyle change. But the fact that it's a significant enough change for him to mention, hey, this is something that I want to ask someone older and more experienced about, I feel like that says yet something else about his maturity and where his head is at going into the situation. And yes, I'm with y'all in the chat. He needs a bigger hat. And I'm sure the Cowboys are on it. We cannot be the only people who see this. As a matter of fact, it's in my thumbnail. There's so many pictures of this man adjusting his hat.
Joe.
Joe White, Lone Star Live. Kind of on that note, Cowboys have had a lot of success with first-round offensive linemen. I guess how motivating is kind of the standard that's been set by guys like Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, and Tyler Smith?
I think it's motivation. It's a goal to reach, and it's achievable. I feel like I can do it, and that's what I want for myself, and that's what this team and my whole family wants for me. That's the goal. So I think we're going to reach that.
Garrett Podell, CBS Sports. Tyler, how do you feel like you fit into Mike McCarthy's offense and blocking for Dak Prescott after playing at Oklahoma?
I feel like I fit good. I learned a couple of the little plays here and there when we were teaching things at the Combine, the Senior Bowl. I feel like I match in perfectly. I like to pass the ball. I also like to run the ball. I mean, a little bit of both, and I feel like I mix in perfectly. Amazing O-line coach, amazing coordinator and head coach, and everything that I've ever dreamed for is here, and I feel like I'm going to fit into it amazingly.
Nick Harris, DallasCowboys.com. Welcome, Tyler. First off, going from the right side to the left side, there's going to be just a little bit of changes in doing that. Granted, you were still blocking for a blindside quarterback in Dylan Gabriel since he's left-handed, but what do you think you're going to have to kind of work on to be able to manifest that left tackle spot?
Just refining my technique, repetition over and over, doing it so much that I can't get it wrong. It's just switching your footwork, switching your hands and your technique, and also flipping the plays in your mind. I've been playing left tackle since I got into college. I actually feel like I'm better at left tackle, and I'm more comfortable over there anyway, so I feel like the switch will be pretty easy.
I love it.
Nick Eatman, DallasCowboys.com. Tyler, can you talk about playing tight end and then maybe moving over to tackle, and just whose decision was that, and what had to happen there? Was it putting on more weight?
This is a good story he's about to tell.
It's a misconception. I didn't play tight end. I was in practice one day. I had my knee braces on, and we were going through warm-ups, and I saw the tight ends going up and grabbing balls by the goalpost. So I went in the line, and I just went up and got one. And they told me they were going to give me a route. I had an eligible number, and we drew up a play for me in a certain week in a heavy package, and I went and scored it. I didn't actually play tight end, though. It was just one play, and I was done.
Let me tell y'all how much I would love to see this man line up at tight end 1 or 2 times. Just, I would be ecstatic. I know it would have to be like a special package, a particular package, but like that would just be some entertaining stuff right there.
Wish I got another one. It was one play.
Got you some coaching points, Coach. We got to pay for him. Yeah.
We know, Jared.
I'm
Stop
not
talking.
Michael Gelkin, Dallas Morning News. You mentioned just your footwork that comes from your basketball background. Can you elaborate on just how that helps you, how you use your footwork and to mirror pass rushers or whatever it may be that give you an advantage?
You got to have quick feet to stay up with quick players. These defensive ends are damn near the most athletic players on the field, and they're very skilled at what they do. But being big and being a dancing bear and having quick feet definitely helps you stay in front of them.
A dancing bear.
Can you put your finger on it a little bit more in terms of just, because some big guys that play basketball, but they don't move like you do, like why you are so light on your feet?
Honestly, it might be some genetics, and it's also hard work. I shout out my parents for that. I don't know what they did, but I've been playing sports my whole entire life, and it just kind of came natural to me. I feel like if I didn't play basketball, I wouldn't have as quick a feet, though, for sure.
John.
Tyler, Jonah Javad with WFAA. You're here with your friends and family, and anyone in your position knows it takes a village to get to where you are today. If you can speak to what they've meant to you along this journey.
I just want to shout y'all out for real, because without y'all, I wouldn't be here. Every single last one of y'all. All the sacrifices y'all made for me are the reason I'm here today. Taking me to practice early in the morning, making me food whenever I needed to, taking me to the house whenever I didn't have a ride, and staying with me in times that I was down. I appreciate it, and I love all of y'all, and thank y'all for being here.
Okay. So let me tell you what I love about that answer. Like, he didn't just answer the question and pretend like his family wasn't in the room. Like, he was asked the question, and unprompted, no need to pause, no need to hesitate. He immediately turned to his family and said, I want to shout y'all out, and acknowledge some things that, like, let's be honest, a lot of kids take for granted. Things like being fed and having a ride home, and, somebody to stay with them whenever they're not having the best of days. I just thought it was really awesome that he didn't just say like, oh, here's some things I love about my family. He actually took the time to acknowledge where they were in the room, look at them, and speak directly to them. That is so amazing. It just points to such a high level of respect. And I appreciate that about him a lot.
Man.
Nui Scruggs, NBC5 Dallas. Do you have a particular player in the NFL when you look at his game playing tackle, you say, that's me, or I want to get to play like that at all?
I would say Penei Sewell. I want to get to playing at that level. That's definitely.
It's not saying Lane Johnson anymore.
Kurt Bowles from the Austin American Statesman. Would you say you're more of a cerebral kind of guy, or just kind of real mean and nasty and violent?
When I'm not on the field, I'm a cool guy. I like to laugh and show love, but on the field, I want to hurt people. That's just naturally my tendencies as a player. I'm violent and I love the game of football, and that's what you can do when you play football. So,
Tyler, just your initial conversations with Mike McCarthy, and you talked about the coaches. Just what have you kind of gotten from what their plan is for you? I know it's still really early, but just moving forward, what's the next steps for you and what you want to do?
Maximizing my potential as a player, using me in the best way possible. Whatever that may be, left tackle, it's whatever. And I know they have me in their best interest. That's why they picked me up. So I'm trusting them with whatever they want to do with me. But I feel like they're going to maximize me as a player.
And also in practices going up against guys like Mike Parsons and Lawrence, and how much are you looking forward to that challenge?
I'm excited about that. I mean, iron sharpens iron, and that's a real statement. The people around you make you better. And we're going to go into it, and we're going to battle together as brothers, and we're going to come out stronger.
Clarence Hill, 4-Star Telegram. You talk about, was TCU your only scholarship offer out of high school? And why did you leave TCU?
Coming out of high school, it was my only offer. I had one offer to Texas Christian University. I played there for 2 seasons, and once Coach Patterson and his group got fired, I left with them.
Do you see your best football in front of you because you don't have a lot of experience at that? It's for in college, the whole time. But is your best football in front of you?
I think so. I know it is, actually. I mean, I did come into the position a little late. I don't use that as a buyout, but I feel like once I get around these coaches and understand these schemes and get this higher level of coaching, I'm definitely going to elevate as a player.
Right there, he's pretty much saying the same thing a lot of other people are saying. Hey, he hasn't had a lot of experience in this position, but once he actually gets with the Cowboys and starts getting better coaching and a little bit better feedback, he expects to advance at a higher level as well. So I feel like that points even more to what a lot of people have been saying in terms of him reaching his upside or reaching his potential, and there being an upside to him as a player. Not only are people who are observing him saying this, but now he's saying this himself, that, hey, I appreciate my coaches, but I haven't had a lot of experience, and the new coaches and having the opportunity to learn from some of the best is going to do me a lot of good. So yet another reason for Cowboys fans to be excited about what we're going to see from this guy.
Michael, you mentioned Penei Sewell and reaching that level in your game. What, from this point forward, do you need to, what strides have you identified that you want to make to get to that?
I'm trying to refine my run blocking. Refine that nasty, fit my hands right in and roll my hips and finish somebody and dump them. That's what's on my mind. That's what I've been working towards, and that's what I've been thinking about.
Is any of that?
So once again, we see him being very specific about what he wants to work on. And we don't know if this is all he wants to work on, but I like the fact that he names some specific things. He's like, I want to get better at run blocking. He mentioned his hands. He mentioned his ability to roll his hips, which is all things that I've heard people actually mention who have broken down film on him. So once again, we see a situation where he's very specific about what he wants to do. And I think that points to his focus going into OTAs, practices, training camps, so on and so forth, to actually focus on those things and improve in those specific areas. We're going to see him improve quickly, y'all.
I think it's both. It's a little bit of both.
Yep. Oh, Todd? Mike, what's today like for you when he comes in? Do you guys try and get him with Mike Solari, go over a playbook, or is it just kind of, hey, just enjoy the day?
Well, Todd, as you know, the reason why you asked that question, that'd be illegal to go.
They go over, or they couldn't at the time.
This is about Tyler and his family. So, and we want him to enjoy this day. This is a great moment in his life, and we just want to introduce him to the Dallas Cowboys and this phenomenal media group that we get to work with.
I'm going to personally have to teach him when he answers a question to wander around and add a lot here and add a lot there and what have you. You are.
So this is one of the body language things that I was talking about. I really loved the fact that as Jerry Jones was talking, he kind of starts to mirror his motions. Like, go back and look at it. He doesn't leave, like, Jerry Jones is clearly, like, doing one of his things that he likes to do where he just goes off on a tangent. And he's like, I'm not going to leave you out here on this limb by yourself going off on this random tangent. I'm right here with you. We're going to do these hand motions together. Like, watch it again.
The group that we get to work with.
I'm going to personally have to teach him when he answers a question to wander around and add a lot here and add a lot there and what have you. You are succinct as a English teacher. We can't do with that.
Jerry said, you're succinct as an English teacher. I feel like there are some things Jerry Jones could learn from Tyler Guyton in terms of how to answer questions. But no, I really love the mirroring of the hand motions, because to me that says, like, he's attentive, he's listening, he's engaging with Jerry Jones in a way besides just talking to him. And I feel like if he carries those same habits and those same ways of connecting to every aspect of him being a teammate with the Dallas Cowboys, whether it's with his actual teammates on the field, whether it's with how he interacts with coaches and other staff, I feel like that just means good things for him and how he's going to fit in with this brand. I mean, that is one of the most adorable things I've ever seen anybody do with Jerry Jones. I'm gonna make it a GIF if I get some time.
I could learn something from you.
Yes, you could.
Jerry, could you just talk about the excitement of tonight? You have 3 picks, and what's the goal here?
Well, it obviously I want to carry this forward. Stephen actually said to me on the way out the door last night, he said, I don't think I've ever felt this good about the first day. And that says a lot from our standpoint. But to get a player that has this upside and yet has this fundamentals with it, and to do that at such a position of need and the premier position of need in all of football, to get to start with that and end up having gotten another player at an outstanding pick, and we've got a chance to get an outstanding player. So we spent the pick, yet we end up with another one that is we hope we'll make something out of in the form of the right kind of player there. That's almost too much. And so I feel great about it. We have the middle of this draft really looks good and has all the way through. And that's where we are now with these 3 picks today. And I think we're going to get him some teammates that he can go to the house with.
Sir.
Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Question for Jerry, Mike, and Steven. Tyler, we've spoken about this a good bit this morning. Obviously, your family, yourself, lifelong Cowboys fans. For you guys, though, obviously you're looking for the best player available. You're looking for guys that can come in and make an impact on day one. But can you talk a little bit about the emotion behind also knowing that the player that can do that happens to be from a family who has been lifelong Cowboys fans, and you're helping to
Definitely
realize
not
that
the first time that's happened.
I'll start. Huge bonus. I frankly didn't realize until you walked up with Tad walked in, and he said, I don't think we've ever had a player as emotionally proud to be here as Tyler was showing down there when we were walking around and did this with the jerseys and did those kinds of things, and said, you talking about someone that has really spent a lot of time coming home. If this is it, he has. And those are bonuses. I wouldn't have been able to get that, and so that's a major plus. The Cowboys, you got to stand in line. The Cowboys have been great to several people. I'm probably at the top of the list of what the Cowboys can do for you if you'll get it in gear and go. And so I think he's got that kind of hunger. I think he's got that kind of expectation, good background of folks that think it through and achieve and understand this opportunity. We had a little visit about that. He can change everybody's life here, and that's not smoke. He really can. But it's going to have a big, serious intent and focus to get it done. But with his skills, if he wants it that bad, then this is exciting.
So just short comment here. Since we're talking about Tyler Guyton and what we can learn about him as a person, even though he didn't say anything for the past couple of minutes, because Jerry did a lot of talking, I really like the fact that he looked engaged the whole time. He was actually looking at Jerry Jones. He did look around the room a couple of times, but if Jerry had any question about if anybody was like paying attention and listening, like there was no question that Tyler Guyton was actually paying attention to him, engaging, nodding his head, agreeing. And as someone who speaks in public a lot, that actually does mean a lot to have that sort of engagement and interaction.
Michael, you mentioned Tyler has been a lifelong Cowboys fan. Have you been to Cowboys games before? If so, how many? And any memories that are specifically memorable?
Oh yeah, I've been to plenty. Been to a couple this year. I think my best memory though is after the game, we got onto the field, and my dad got to kiss the star. It was on his bucket list from his whole life. So that was the biggest moment for me, honestly, getting to see him enjoy it and embrace the star himself and get to be a part of it. It was amazing.
Which game was that? Do you remember?
The Jets, Cowboys versus the Jets.
Yeah. And he laid on the star today?
He laid on the star and hugged it today.
Today. Hugged it today. The night that I shook hands, or the day, and then that night, I shook hands with Von Bright. I went out to our stadium and laid on the star. Same way.
It might have been. Might have been.
It's good. We're going to close up with a little photo in Jersey.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's everything in terms of interviews. So, I feel like, going back to almost a year, no, actually over a year from today, because I think that first interview was from early April last year. Anyway, we went back to last year through some of his interviews as a Sooner, and then through the Combine, and now as a Dallas Cowboy. And you see this consistent theme with Tyler Guyton. We see him talks about his work ethic a lot, which is obvious. For him to have had such little experience, not only as a football player, but in the specific position where we've seen him playing the most, for anyone who's actually been watching that film, for him to have such little experience and still execute in the way that he's able to execute, once again, not perfect, but definitely impressive, definitely eye-catching, right? So that says a lot about his work ethic right there. But we get to see how serious he is about what he does, from how specific he is about the work that he wants to put in, why he wants to put that work in, the results he expects to see from that work. We heard the way that he brags on teammates, the fact that he doesn't like to position himself above teammates. He likes to look at himself as part of a unit. And along with that, he actually takes pride in the stats of the offense as a whole, not in just how few sacks happen on his watch, not in just, the film and the footage and the highlights of him, moving people around and doing impressive things. He's actually expressed multiple times through all of those interviews what he'd like to see in terms of yards per carry. The fact that he likes whenever he's on the field and he's protecting the quarterback and he sees a long pass take off from inside the pocket. That says a lot about the role that he expects to play and how seriously he takes his role and what happens with the rest of the offense. Not just the man that's in front of him, not just in making highlights, not just in saying, I didn't allow any tackles, but he actually has expressed the fact that whatever team he's on, he expects to see a certain level of production from the offense. And he seems to have pretty high standards for that as well. So props to him on all that. And in addition to all that, he seems like a very coachable young man who not only is willing to listen, but who is willing to engage, who is willing to interact. He seems like the type of guy who makes the people around him feel connected, feel like he's listening, and like he wants to hear from them. And that says a lot. Once again, as a trainer and coach, that really means a lot. whenever you can actually feel that connection from a person. I'm gonna tell you one thing. I have situations where I teach like a whole class of people. Like I do personal training, one-on-one stuff. But there are also some situations where I teach a whole room full of people. And sometimes it's like, it takes a little bit of work to actually get them to respond. And I'm like, no, I want y'all to talk to me. I want y'all to ask questions. I want y'all to tell me when something doesn't make sense or when something's difficult. And so to just have someone who's like willing to proactively interact and engage, it does mean a lot whenever you're coaching them. So while that's something that people might not necessarily connect to his game, I think that says a lot about what he'll bring to the table as an athlete and as a teammate. And it will definitely contribute to him advancing at a pretty quick pace. I know, like, the people who say that they don't expect to see anything from him his rookie year, I don't blame you. That's not an unreasonable statement. I'm just saying, based on what I've seen from him, both athletically, as well as what he's expressed from a mental and emotional standpoint, his commitment to the game, his commitment to the position, I actually do expect to see great things from him this year. I think he's going to be one of those people who's a joy to watch when it comes to media and his interviews and media availability. I think he's going to quickly become a fan favorite, honestly. I think he's going to be one of those people that people love to watch at training camp, love to watch in the preseason. And once he gets to the point where he's on the field regularly during those regular season games and he does impressive things, and then he gets the opportunity to talk about those impressive things after the games and during the week, oh man, Cowboys fans are going to love this guy. So I'm excited about him and everything that he's going to bring from a culture standpoint. I don't know when I'm going to do another one of these, but I do want to do these for other players. So if y'all have anybody in particular that y'all want to like see a bunch of interviews on and talk about what it says about their character and their work ethic and their style of practicing and playing, let me know in the comments. And, you know, if it's somebody that everybody wants to see, I'll bump that person up. I already see somebody saying Cooper Beebe in the chat. That's actually not a bad idea because I did not listen to a lot of Cooper Beebe interviews. I saw a lot of Cooper Beebe film, but I can't say that I actually listened to a lot of what he has had to say up until this point. So that could actually be a really good one. Plus, I know that is somebody else that the fan base is already really excited about. So thank you for that recommendation. And if you're watching this right now or after the fact or on Twitter and you agree that Cooper Beebe should be next, I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow or anything, but if you agree that Cooper Beebe should be next, let me know and I'll make sure and work on that for you guys. Now, before I get out of here, I see there are a lot of people still watching. I just want to comment on something that is completely unrelated to football, but I was watching Vach earlier, Vach Lombardi, shout out to Sensei. And at the end of his stream, he started talking about the Kendrick diss track that came out this morning, or I guess it's yesterday morning at this point. And he talked about, I'm not going to talk about the whole thing. He went into it. If you didn't see it, you should definitely go check out his live stream, check out the replay from earlier today, fast forward to the end. He went into it at an expert level. It was phenomenal. But he brought up the beginning of the audio. If you haven't heard Kendrick Lamar's track Euphoria, at the very beginning there's reversed audio, a lot like what Kendrick Lamar did in Damn, where there was a lot of reversed audio. So it's kind of like that. But the audio came from The Wiz. It came from a scene in The Wiz where Richard Pryor, who plays The Wiz, who plays the wizard in The Wiz, says, "Everything they say about me is true." And he got really close to touching on something that I thought he was going to go into. And me being somebody, like, The Wiz is literally one of my favorite movies of all time. I was like, okay, just for fun, if enough people are still watching at the end of the stream, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And what that particular line meant to me, since Vach didn't touch on it earlier. But let me see if I can pull up the clip. I downloaded it earlier. But basically, it downloaded in a format that I cannot upload into StreamYard. So I'm going to see if we can watch it directly by streaming. And if so, we'll play it that way. And if not, I'll just convert it real quick. It'll take a few minutes and I'll talk to y'all about something else. And then we'll get into it. Okay. So I've got it pulled up and it's playing. We'll see if it still plays when I share it. So the line, everything they say about me is true. It comes at a point in the movie, The Wiz, where Dorothy, the Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man, they have just killed Eveline, and they're going back because it was the wizard who sent them to kill Eveline. So they're going back to basically let him know, hey, we killed Eveline. Now, help us get the things that we asked for. So Dorothy wants to go home. Scarecrow wants a brain, so on and so forth. But when they walk in, they see a very different scene than what they saw before. And they realize that the wizard isn't real. And they confront him about being a fake. Now, there was a couple of things that were significant. One, when Vach was talking about the diss track and he talked about this particular line, one of the things that he pointed out was that Kendrick in his song called out Drake for basically switching not only genres, but also switching cultures and switching accents. And just basically doing that at will based on, I guess, whatever he thought would sell or whatever he thought would be convenient or engaging at the time. In this particular scene, we hear the wizard say something similar when he talks about how he ended up in that hot air balloon in the first place. So I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just play the scene and then I'll point it out whenever we get to that point that I was just like, yo, if Kendrick Lamar actually made this connection, he is literally the dopest. So let's get into it. I'm going to stop sharing that. We're going to go here, share screen. All right, and let's hope this doesn't glitch out on us.
Must be the back door. Well, I don't think the killers of the Wicked Witch of the West should be using the back door. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Cheetah says it's a shortcut. Goodbye, Cheetah.
Goodbye, Dorothy.
Bye. It's open. Hello? Hello in there?
All right. So that giant head on the ground that you see on the left earlier in the movie, and I wonder how easy it would be to go back to it. Let's see, we're at 152.10. Nope, that's too far. Okay. I went right to it. I'm so good. So this is when they first saw the Wiz.
At home. And these are my friends. This is the Scarecrow. And he wants
A brain, Your Majesty. Some of your great wisdom.
And this is the Tin Man.
Show the Wiz.
For Wiz.
You want you overstuffed animal cracker?
So that giant metallic head is the Wiz. That's what they saw the first time, and they thought that was the Wiz.
So he can go back to his old job of being king of the jungle.
Is this so, Lion? Anything she says.
Can you help us, sir?
What's in it for me?
So that's the point at which he commands them to kill Eveline. And then you fast forward to where we are right now, and they see the head lying on the ground. So for anyone who hasn't actually seen this movie, that's what's happening here. They walked in, they see the head on the ground, and they immediately realize that dude pulled one over on him.
Wait a minute.
Does this look familiar?
Guess who got had?
And real quick, I want to acknowledge what Roy is saying in the chat about the connection that people made between The Wiz and Michael Jackson. It is true. There were a couple of references in Kendrick's track that kind of suggested like a Michael Jackson to Prince sort of dynamic between Drake and Kendrick. And I do think that connection might have been here as well. But they're going to say a couple of things that I think are an even more direct comparison between The Wiz and Drake. So right here is when they're about to walk up and pull the blanket off of him, and he's going to jump up and be scared and admit that he's a phony. So you'll hear that line that he says in the beginning, but it's reversed audio.
Burnham said there's a sucker born every minute.
I heard him. I was there when he said it, but I never thought I'd be one of them.
Phony! You're nothing but a phony!
I'm out! The wizard's out! He's not here!
Lies! No more lies!
You charlatan. I've seen men shot for less.
You're a terrible
I've seen men shot for
I'm sorry! Sorry! I'm 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 sorry! Everything they say about me is true! I'm a phony! I got no powers! I got no right to be pretending to be the Wiz! I got nothing. Hocus pocus. Nothing. I'm just plain old Herman Smith from Atlantic City.
Atlantic City?
All right, so here's where he's about to explain how he went from Atlantic City to ending up in the Emerald City of Oz. And this was where I was like, he starts talking about all the things that he went through to end up in that situation in the first place. And I was like, I wonder if Kendrick Lamar made the connection between this and the way Drake has switched genres and switched his style so many times.
Atlantic City? You mean you're from New Jersey?
Mm-hmm. I'm just a second-rate politician from District 7.
Public office is the last refuge of the incompetent. Penrose!
Incompetent! That's me. I'm incompetent. So much so, I could never get elected to public office. Not because I didn't try. I tried everything. Look, I ran with any and everything. Alderman, councilman, assembly leader. I became a laughingstock. I couldn't even get on the ticket. Finally, in desperation, I ran for dog catcher. I like animals, don't get me wrong. I like animals. But I was at the end of my rope. I plunged myself into the campaign.
So that was the part that I was talking about, that I was like, I wonder if Kendrick made that connection, because he talks about how he's a politician, but he couldn't even get elected. And he's like, you know, I ran for all these positions and I ran for so many things that I ran out of things to run for. And I eventually ran for dog catcher. And I can't recall it verbatim, but, you know, when Vach was doing his recounting of all this, he kind of talked about not only, once again, it's like experimenting with different genres is one thing, but we've actually like literally seen Drake experiment with different cultures, like, you know, insert himself in different cultures, use different accents, use different slang, claim different places that he's lived or done certain things, all for the sake of enhancing his entertainment, which if it was just a genre, I feel like there would be less room for criticism. But when you actually transform yourself, and by some people's account, even physically, when you transform yourself that many ways, that many different times, yeah, I does think it leaves, the echo is getting to me again. I do think it leaves a little bit of room for people to question your authenticity, which is what is happening here. He's being, and by here, I mean with the Wiz, this guy is being called out not only for not being the Wiz, like you ended up in the position of pretending to be the Wiz because you had literally pretended to do so many things and you were so desperate to make it work that you ended up in this hot air balloon, landed here, and you couldn't even be your authentic self here.
Desperate grandstand play, you know what I did? I ran a hot air balloon.
Hot air. That's a perfect vehicle for you.
No. Oh, it was a beautiful 4th of July day. I planned to fly over the boardwalk and the beach and throw my leaflet to the astonished crowd below. My motto was, vote for Smith, your best bet to catch that pat. But
Just when I got up in the balloon, a terrible storm came up and blew me into the clouds.
And there is something else that happens in this scene that I feel like is connected to something Kendrick said. He's going to get to it in a second. Or they're going to get to it in a second, I should say.
I got lost. I landed here in Oz. They never seen a hot air balloon like mine before. And I know I should have told them the truth, but they proclaimed me the wizard. No, I needed the job.
And you mean you sent us to kill Eveline? Knowing we might never come back.
So that was a line that actually reminded me of something else connected to this whole beef situation. Because here we see the Wiz talking about how, hey, you know, me becoming the Wiz was an accident. They never seen a hot air balloon like mine. Kind of like if we think about like in Drake's rise to fame, a lot of people talked about like, oh, his style is so unique. He sounds different. He brings something different to music and to pop culture, right? And so this guy's like, they'd never seen a hot air balloon like mine. So they declared me to be the Wiz, you know? And here Dorothy is listening to this. She just went and had to kill a witch. And if you've seen this movie, you know her and her friends almost died. And she's like, so you sent us to kill Eveline, knowing we might never come back? And that just kind of made me think about how Drake like pulled all these other people into his diss tracks. Some of them real, like J. Cole, some of them fake, like Tupac, which I felt like was really inappropriate. But it's like, he's going at Kendrick, and it's almost like Kendrick is acknowledging like, yo, you sent all these people to come for me in these tracks, knowing that I might body all y'all, not just you. What is wrong with you, dude? All to protect this image that you've created of yourself that's not even real. So, like, when I really started thinking about not only the line itself, but everything that happened in that scene, I was just like, man, I wonder if Kendrick actually meant to go that deep with it. And it's easy to assume that it's like a coincidence, but honestly, just knowing what I know about Kendrick Lamar, because Kendrick is another one of those people who, like, the same way I just like looked at all those interviews with Tyler Guyton, Kendrick is one of those people who I used to do those with. So knowing what I know about him, I feel like there's a high likelihood that all of these connections existed whenever he decided to put that reversed audio on that track. And so I feel like now every time I think about Drake and J. Cole and all them and all the stuff that they've been doing, I'm going to think of this line. Hold on, I'm going to play it again.
And you mean you sent us to kill Eveline? Knowing we might never come back.
She would have killed me. She would have found out I had no power, and she took over ours.
That's no excuse. Come on.
Said that's no excuse. So they find out that they've basically been used. This dude tricks them, and they're just like, you know what? We're out. We already killed Eveline. We can't undo that. We're out. One more parallel that I want to draw, and I probably should have pulled up the lyrics for this, so, my apologies for anybody who I'm not being specific enough for. But there were several references in Kendrick's track made to Drake making dance music that he liked to dance to. And so the other thing that I thought about with this parallel between the Wiz admitting to being phony and that potentially being something that Kendrick is applying to Drake, I thought about the scene when Dorothy the Tin Man, the Lion, and the Scarecrow are trying to find the Emerald City. They're trying to get to the Wiz, and they come up on the Emerald City, and it's all these people outside doing what? Dancing. Not only are they dancing, but the Wiz keeps changing his mind about what he wants, what color he wants, and what he wants to see from the people outside dancing. And every time he changes his mind, they change what they're wearing, they change the genre of music that they're doing, so they can keep dancing and try to appease the Wiz. I'm going to try to find the section where that happens. It's like an 8-minute section, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. But I'm just going to play a couple of the transitions once again for anyone who's not familiar with this movie. All right, so I'm not sure how deep this is into the scene Green, but we'll just let it go. So once again, this to me was a parallel between what Kendrick Lamar said about people liking to dance to Drake's music and kind of pairing that into what he's saying about Drake constantly changing cultures and genres and comparing it to what the Wiz is doing to the people here in the Emerald City who all seem to kind of worship the Wiz in a way.
To show that your stuff's laid. If you're not seen green,
I agree with like The Wiz is such a classic. So they're all about green. The lights are green. The wardrobe is green. The roads are green. Their hair is green, as they just referenced in the lyrics. Okay, now he's about to issue another command. He's about to switch.
An announcement from the great and powerful Oz.
I thought it over, and green is dead. Till I changed my mind, the color's red.
So I think something else to point to here is also the shallowness with which he does it. He doesn't have like a good reason for switching from green to red. He's just like, oh, you know what? I thought it over and green is dead and now the color is red, which is like another parallel between the Wizard and Drake, because it's like, has Drake ever really had like a deep or meaningful reason for a lot of the switches that he made? Like whenever he decided to start talking with an accent and making like dancehall music, like I don't recall any interview where he talked about any particular deep or philosophical reason for doing that. It was just like one day we all woke up and Drake was talking with an accent and people just kind of went with it because the music was fun to dance to, as we see here.
Those green gems and wear rubies on your yacht.
This movie is amazing. So the lyric they say is, if you're not seeing red, you shouldn't be seen nowhere. But then they're about to switch because the Wizard says so.
How quickly fashion goes down the drain. Last week when you all was wearing pink, already for me red was old. The ultimate yellow brick is gold.
That's the new color, children. Hit it.
So once again, we see another switch in the genre of music. We see a switch in the wardrobe. We see a switch in the lighting, a switch in everything, all because the Wizard just randomly up and decided, you know what, I feel like doing something else. And so it feels like a really deep parallel, right? And if it were anybody besides Kendrick Lamar, I'd be like, I don't know, that's a bit much. But because it's Kendrick, I could 100% see Kendrick Lamar making that connection of, yeah, you're a phony who people like to dance for, people like to dance to your music, but at the end of the day, you just switch up whenever you feel like it for no reason, and one day everybody's gonna realize you're fake. So it's a lot going on there, but like I said, this came more from, I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan, and there are even some Drake songs that I like. It's not like I hate Drake, but me being like a Wiz fan and like having memories like as a baby watching this movie and just like I never stopped loving this movie. When I heard that line at the beginning and realized what it was, and then just started making the connections between that and various things I know about the movie and the character of the wizard, I was just like, oh my God, Kendrick Lamar is a genius. This is spectacular. I love it. So yeah, tell me what you think in the chat. Like, do you think I'm on point here? If you're watching this after the fact, tell me what you think in the comments. Like, do y'all see the parallels, or do y'all think I'm doing way too much because I just love this movie and wanted a reason to show clips from the movie, show some of my favorite clips from the movie after talking about my favorite football team? Also, if you've never seen The Wiz, because I realize it's an older movie and we're at a point in time where there literally might be people who have been born into this world and they didn't grow up watching this as a kid like I did. If you haven't seen this movie, definitely catch it. I think right now on Google Play it's like $3.99. You might also be able to catch it on Amazon Prime or something. It is a truly, truly amazing rendition of The Wizard of Oz and has some of the best black entertainers of the time doing it. It's fire. All right, so we're going to end that there. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to my explanation of not only who Tyler Guyton is as a person, but also to the deep parallels between Kendrick Lamar's diss track and The Wiz, which is one of my favorite movies. I appreciate y'all for sticking around. Thanks in advance for sharing this content with someone else who you think might like it. Thanks for hitting that like button. I haven't seen how many of you did it, but y'all are so awesome. I know you've done it. And I also know that if you haven't already subscribed, you're probably going to do it right now because I'm asking really, really nicely. Let me look at a few comments, a few more comments, and then we'll get out of here. Roy agrees with me. Thank you. Roy says, I agree. I think Kendrick is the type of artist that would draw that parallel. I think so too. I'm going to play this back. Maybe this will get to him some kind of way and he can answer whether or not all those parallels exist on purpose. But on that note, thank y'all for being active in the chat. Thanks so much for joining me so late. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. And I'll see y'all next time when... I don't know if I'll do the Cooper BB thing next time, but I'll have something... I have a few good things lined up for y'all. I'll put it that way. So... thanks for joining me. On that note, I'm Jazz Monet. This has been another episode of Bitches Love Sports, and I'm out.